Hey, we're back with Save the Pumpkins podcast with your host, Amy.
And this is Shane.
What are we talking about today?
We are talking about 2019's Love, Fall, and Order, starring
Aaron Cahill.
and Trevor Donovan.
And also, I don't want to forget to mention
We're going to talk about
Gregory Harrison. Yeah, he's does really well in this role. But also, Drew Fuller plays Ben. Jan Broberg is Aunt Margie. And then we have side characters that do play a good part, which is Casey Clyde is Nick, and Haley Smith is Betsy. And they may play a role in our...
I don't remember either one of the... Oh, no. They were the other couple.
Yeah, so just want to mention them in case that comes up in our little summary.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start out by saying that I'm a huge fan of Erin Cahill. I think she is just so fun to watch. She always seems to have a good day. I mean, I understand she plays a character, but I feel like that's how she is off screen too. It's just like this energetic, bubbly person.
Isn't that funny? I don't think I've ever... maybe I've seen like an interview with her, but honestly, I can't remember. I've usually seen interviews with almost every one of the Hallmark stars. And we should say that not every movie is a Hallmark movie that we watch, but I think I've seen interviews with almost all of them, but I don't remember if I've seen one with her. She seems like she would be really nice. The character she plays, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, she's a fave. But she plays Claire Hart, who is a real estate attorney, right? I mean, that's what she would like.
Yeah, she's a lawyer and does. Is that first thing she's working on? Is it a real estate thing?
Yeah, it sounds like it has something to do with
it opens up like
property
these do. A lot of these movies will open up and they're showing you who the person is. So she's doing some kind of a thing in New York City. She's a lawyer, and I can't remember if she's for the case. It doesn't matter.
So somebody's occupying a space, and the person, she wins, and the person has to vacate the space. So
yeah, I just don't remember.
But anyway, she's in New York, so we get a glimpse of fall in New York. That's where we start out.
I think they show us Times Square. Times Square.
Central Park.
Central Park. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
And which is you can never tell if they just got a shot of that and splice it into the movie or whatever. But yeah, they show us Central Park to let you know. Yeah, we're in New York.
So that's where she is, and then we have a side thing happening. With a gentleman and his aunt, and that they're in Vermont. So we've got her in New York. This is happening in Vermont, and we come to find out that Claire is her character named Claire Hart's dad, lives in Vermont, and that's where she's from. So the two worlds are going to collide.
Yeah. Talk about these, you're so all over the place. Like my notes and your notes, you do like big chunks of scenes, and I write down everything that happens. So we're just all over the place.
Well, I mean, it's gotta stay like, you know what I mean. Like,
yeah,
you can't
I know you want it to be snappy, but like we skip so many things.
No, I'm not saying snappy. I just don't want it to be so, matter of fact. Like, you got to throw a little levity into it.
Go ahead. I'm gonna let you take care of this one, and I'll just.
No, I mean, so we just see that, Trevor Donovan's character, Patrick Harris, is a lawyer as well in Vermont, and he is helping his aunt, Margie, who owns a floral shop.
He does. And he has
a dog
named
Maple.
Yeah.
Which I'll get to that later.
Oh.
But anyway, they're
Maple
sitting
hate.
in her shop, and we come to find out that at some point his uncle, her husband, had passed away, and the organization is it looks like she's having a little trouble with keeping things organized with paperwork and stuff like that.
Yeah, and she's not able to fulfill orders and things, and she does look and why is that important, the paperwork?
Well, because
what do you see
in the paperwork, right? She finds some maps, and it looks like based on the map,
she finds a deed. I don't think it's maps in the paperwork. It's a deed. She finds a deed.
And he looks at it and says, "Hey, I think you actually have more land than what you've thought you've had." And so that creates conflict of then her serving Claire Hart's dad, played by Gregory Harrison, uh, a summons
Mm-hmm.
basically to go to court to settle a dispute that some of his property is actually her property. Um, and so she gets a phone call and from her dad that says that he's getting sued basically, and she agrees to come home and at first help him find a local lawyer to help him.
You skip one little part that will matter later on. That we show early, and this happens in the Hallmark movies as well, and in all these romance movies. It happens. We show Claire in a restaurant with her boyfriend, current boyfriend, who's a city planner. And you know why that matters later on in the film. He's a city planner, and he's a little bit of a germaphobe. And she's taking him to a sushi restaurant, and he's just not having any part of it. So sushi is very specific. If you're kind of a germaphobe, probably not the food that you want anything to do with. It's just kind of scary, right? So they decide very they agree that they're going to not see each other anymore. But and in fact, both of them go, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were feeling that way.
Yeah,
I was
better off
feeling."
at friends.
They're better off as friends, kind of thing. So she goes from there to her office, her law office, where she does indeed hear get a phone call saying that her dad is being sued. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. So she agrees, like I said, to come home and help him. But it's such a great, cozy, feel good kind of movie that when you jump then to the next scene and you see a house with a porch on it. Like when I saw that, when she goes home to Vermont and her dad is living in a house with a porch that surrounds, the house. I mean, you got me.
Oh,
You know what I
really?
mean? Like just
That's
the
all it took? I can't believe that.
those country homes with the porch, going home to it, just
So I think I know. I think I know a little more than that. This movie has uh, great production values. The production values are fantastic. So it looks well shot. It doesn't look cheesy. At this point, I think Hallmark is actually just, and this is from 2019, so not that long ago. Hallmark is just knows how to put the right amount of money into a movie like this to make it look good. The colors are beautiful. They're vibrant. They picked a good, little farm area to film these things in. They've got it locked down. So I think what you're seeing is just a really pretty landscape because the house looks like a
well,
house.
no, when you're trying to portray this fall picturesque kind of environment, they got the porch. What was she driving? That her dad had. Oh, that would be a red pickup truck. It's on he's growing
evergreen
pumpkins to
Christmas
sell
early
at
there.
the
So.
festival. I mean, hello, this is what we are basing
Well,
our
legit,
podcast
yeah,
on.
no doubt. I wasn't making fun of it. I was just.
Yeah, but I mean, it's those little things,
It is. You're right.
So getting back to that, so she runs into Patrick, played by Trevor Donovan, in the store, the local pastry shop. And
She knows him. How does she know him?
yeah, she knows him. They went to high school together, and
She actually didn't run into him at the shop. You don't remember their first meeting in the movie? The
No,
first
what
meeting
was
in the movie was when she went to his office because she did the turnaround where she sees him for the first time, and he's a good-looking guy, and he was like, "Oh, you changed since high school." That's when he sat down at his desk. He brought Maple in with him. Sat down at his desk. She was like, I think we have a little land dispute here, and he goes, well, we'll have to let the judge figure this out. And she's like, well, I guess we will see. And he leaves or whatever, and he's like, and he the dog and says, well, that could have gone better, or whatever silly thing. That was her first time meeting him, seeing him again. They were fierce competitors in high school. I think you said that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I do have here that
Oh, man.
she says that he looks different, and he says that the rowing team in college is what he attributes his new look to.
Right.
And so then I guess, but then they do run into each other
They do.
because
Yeah, they do again.
yeah,
Yeah.
he takes the last
They were fierce
something.
they were fierce
Something.
competitors in high school. If we didn't say that, they're gonna beat you over the head with it. So, um, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so that's what we come to find out is that in high school they were just really competitive. Um, and
Yeah.
then she,
So she starts looking for a lawyer. She's like, I need a local lawyer because I've got to go back to work. I can't stay around in town. I need a local lawyer that I can depend on that will fight this for me, fight Trevor for me. And then she goes to one lawyer and it's not gonna work out.
well,
And then
she
she
goes to
goes,
multiple.
yeah, but
One's
then she
too
goes,
old,
well, the
one's
old
conflict
man,
of interest.
yeah, the initial lady, the lady in the bakery thing or whatever, is like, yeah, I'm sorry, I handle Trevor's mom's Margie's her accounting or something, so I can't. Or my husband handles her accounting or can't do that. It'd be a conflict of interest. And the next lawyer she goes to is an older gentleman. They play this up. That he's like, oh, you know what? You should try Trevor. And she's like, oh my gosh. So sometimes he comes and helps me with my computer.
Well, his name is Patrick in the movie.
Yeah. Oh man, I said Trevor, didn't I?
Yeah,
What
well,
a
but I
bummer.
mean, at least it's the same person.
Yeah.
Um,
And then he's like, don't you remember the funny joke? He goes, Missy, before you leave, could you help me with my computer?
yeah, and why are you doing that voice?
He's an old man.
Does that make you feel better to
Or
portray
an
it?
old man. They have a couple of old people jokes in
Uh,
like the next one, she goes to get copies because she needs copies
right,
for the
yeah.
thing, and she goes into the courthouse, and it's an old lady this time, so at least they spread the elderly discrimination against sexes, right? The old lady she sees is like, she goes, hey, can I just take a picture of this, like whatever this deed, this microfilm or whatever it is with my cell phone? She goes, we have a strict policy against cell phone usage. And she takes
She goes, I take a picture of
I'll
it
take a
using,
picture for you.
yeah,
And then she puts it in the like a
the
copier,
copy
and she
machine.
goes, it'll be just a minute. It takes time to warm up.
And there's that voice again.
Well, that was the lady version.
Yeah.
Takes time to warm up.
So after trying to find a local lawyer, it's not going well. So then she decides that she's going to represent her dad, and we find out that the farm has been in her family for 3 generations, and they both acknowledge, both Aunt Margie and the dad, whose name is Hank in the movie, acknowledge that the land has really good soil, which Margie would benefit from for her flowers. She could have nice soil for bedding for her flowers.
I think everyone that's ever watched a Hallmark movie knows exactly where this movie is headed. That's okay.
And for him, he's in charge of the fall festival.
Pause this if you're listening to this. Pause it, and write down how you think the movie's going to end, and let's see if you're right.
So next we go to her and her friend Betsy are at, and I just love it. It's called the Thirsty Squirrel. I saw the name, and they're catching up and they're having a drink, and they advertise while they're sitting there that they're gonna have trivia. And Patrick Harris and Betsy's husband Nick are sitting inside having a drink. So Patrick cons Nick into.
Well, Patrick and Nick are best friends, which is a little bit of a conflict too, right? He and Nick are best friends, and Claire and Betsy are best friends. So at one point she even says, "You didn't tell me that Nick was best friends with Patrick.
Well,
it takes some time to warm up."
Oh no! So all it takes is for them to hear that there's some sort of competition. So Patrick convinced Nick, and Claire convinced Betsy
The trivia
to be
contest in
on
the
their
bar, yeah.
each one on their team, and we're gonna go towards competition. So in sudden death, it's Patrick and Claire, and Patrick wins, and the prize is chili. So
Yep, like a chili coupon, isn't it? Or is it just chili?
yeah, chili. And pot of chili or something like that. So anyway,
it's literally the two of them. It's kind of a funny scene. It's literally just the two of them fighting each other at trivia. Like no one else can. And they make a point to let you know. It's like a little split screen thing, don't they do it? Like they make a point to let you know no one else is even playing the game because the two of them are just going at it crazy because they're very competitive.
Yes. And so now we find that, okay, so getting back to what I was saying about the dog, okay, or what I want to say
Wait,
about
why
the
is
dog.
Maple coming in?
Maple's a cutie little pie, a golden
Cutie little
retriever.
pie. Yep.
However,
Long hair golden
I
retriever. Very
thought that her presence in this movie was very awkward in that,
a dog?
yes, in that if you watch the movie carefully, Aaron Cahill's character, as many times as the dog is in the scene with Trevor Donovan's character, Patrick, she doesn't acknowledge the dog, okay? He just randomly has his dog on a leash as he's walking, and she's there, and there's no like, hey, or petting the dog or anything. It happens one time towards the end of the movie, and I just thought it was really odd that they introduced this dog into this
Oh,
movie the way that they did.
I want to make sure that we're saying this correctly. So far in season 2 of Save the Pumpkins podcast, Pascal Hutton is old, and Karen
Oh,
and
no, you
Aaron
didn't.
Cahill hates dogs.
No.
What?
No, time out.
I,
You're going to get me in
I,
trouble.
I don't
I
understand that.
I did not say
I
that she
don't think
hates
Aaron
dogs.
Cahill hates dogs.
I didn't say that because she didn't acknowledge the dog. She hated it. I thought it
Well, you
was
won't
just
know.
very odd, the placement of the dog throughout this movie. It's just, I don't know. He looked a little uncomfortable walking the dog to me. Like the dog didn't really play a purpose except this one scene that now we're at where where we've we find that there is what used to be, I guess, a smokehouse, right? Um, I'm getting
You
ahead
forgot
of
about
myself.
that. Yeah, you are. Oh my.
Where am I
The
missing?
debate club. You forgot the debate club.
Oh no, that doesn't come until later.
Nope. I literally wrote it down as it was happening.
Okay, so he coaches the debate team and he invites her to go.
They were both on when they were in school.
And he invites her, and then they wind up debating.
Well, the one girl goes, "Excuse me for I'm not gonna do a little kid voice. Excuse me, but for if you want to do a male voice because it's like a little girl in it. Excuse me, but could you we want to know if you guys could debate each other. It would be very educational for us."
Okay, you sound like South Park. So they wind up
Keith,
debating and judged by the students, and Claire wins. So now we
Mm.
have Patrick won with the chili, and now we got Aaron winning. So now we're even.
He even says, or she says, "I guess that makes us even."
And then
Whatever.
as they're leaving the debate, they're walking and they see pictures in the hallway of themselves younger. And they kind of apologize for their behavior in high school towards each other because it was just
Yeah,
strictly competitive.
we're clearly getting the longing stares in the eyes and the we're only about 2 feet apart, our heads like kiss. They're slowly. It's very well done.
Okay, so then we now bring back Ben, her ex-boyfriend, into this because they find, or she sends him the pictures, the mapping that she took copies of, and sends them to him and asks him if he wouldn't mind looking this over and doing a little bit of research to find the property lines. And he comes back to her and tells her that in the property lines, there looks like there should have been like a smokehouse or something that's not, that was there and is not showing up now anymore.
He takes it as a like a challenge.
Like
the
he sees
boyfriend
it, it's
does.
like a landmark that he sees as like a discrepancy in the property files, and it's on their property, so it's like in their favor. So she's so happy. She invites him to come down, because of the fall festival, and he's like, "Yeah, I
very
think
very
I'll
platonically.
take you up on that."
Yeah, they're not a thing. It's just very
Yeah,
platonically.
he's just kind of nerdy. Says he's gonna bring his telescope so he can see the stars.
Yeah, they make him be a little super extra
Yeah,
nerdy.
but you know what? I actually enjoyed his character. I thought it was very
Yeah, you get into him a little bit. He seems very friendly. He doesn't never wants her back. He knows they're not right. It's not even brought up. Like that's not even a thing.
yeah. So then we're at the fall festival starting to start up or whatever, and Betsy's there, Nick's there, and they all decide to take a hayride. And this is where we have the first physical connection between Claire and Patrick, and when their hands cross while he's putting a blanket on her, which is the cliche to put a blanket on while you're doing a hayride. There's that brief moment where the stars align and they have that gasp, like that, because they feel the connection. Do you ever feel that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it just was the way you described that. You were really into that scene. I was just gonna leave it
Yeah,
alone.
because that was like, that moment where all those feelings from the past that they tried to squelch because they were so competitive now just in that brief moment just flooded back to them.
Takes a while for it to warm up.
So they don't really do anything with that right there.
And then the next day, race on the track at high school. She's gonna go back to town, but before she leaves to go back to town, they have a little race on their high school track because they were physically competitive as well. He was on the track team, she was on the track team, and they race. And it's actually a pretty good looking race. Like, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look like two awkward ding dongs racing. It looks like they could probably race each other. But they stop or whatever, and she's like, it was actually a really good line. It was a good moment. I wish they had had more of them in the movie, where she goes, he goes, yeah, what are we doing out here? I could beat you at any time I wanted to out here on this. It's just two good friends. And she goes, is that what this is?
Yeah, or is it something more?
Well, I don't even, does she even say that? She's like,
Yeah,
is that what this is?
they say that they're
And
glad
it's like a
that they
little
are
pause,
friends.
and it's like really good. They wait for a minute, and he clearly isn't getting the vibes. So he goes, because he's been totally feeling her this entire movie. So it's weird that he doesn't get the vibe right there. But he goes, yeah, of course. But he doesn't mean it in a, like, you have to go back to town, like a typical Hallmark. You have to go back to town. I don't want to complicate your life. That kind of, the hero that makes that statement. It's very much that it just flies right over his head, and she goes, okay, and she just leaves. And it's,
Yeah, well,
it's
because she
sad.
tells him that her company called and needs her back in New
Yeah,
York.
but still sad. It was actually kind of, I was expecting the racetrack thing. I was like, oh my gosh, are you really going to do, like, we get it. They're competitive. You're actually making this you're taking the metaphor like a little too seriously with the racing. But I guess if you want to slam it, over our heads, that's fine, whatever. But it wound up being kind of a touching, kind of cool scene.
Well, then we get her riding back with Ben,
Yep.
and Patrick looks for her after finding out that
He believes, by the way, we did skip this part. He believes that Ben and her are together because Nick, Betsy's husband, who doesn't know any better, says, "Yeah, I think it's her old boyfriend. He's she's seeing somebody that's like a planning,
right. I think he then
commission or
puts
whatever."
like that two and
So,
two
well,
together.
yeah, but it matters because Patrick is getting ready to be like, "Yeah, but I mean, I can't be with her." And he goes to the house, to Betsy and Nick's house, where Nick is like dancing outside with his raking leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, Betsy walks up and says, what are you guys doing? Why don't you just tell Claire how you feel about her? And he goes, well, she's with Ben. I can't be a part of it. And Betsy goes, that's her ex-boyfriend. They look at Nick, and Nick is like I'm supposed to know everything. Nobody tells me anything, or whatever. So he runs to the Harvest Festival, and
Well, he tries to find her, and
she's gone back to town.
Yeah, and he's just kind of little.
Runs into the dad, runs into Gregory Harrison, and is like, okay, never mind.
Right.
They're pretty friendly throughout it. When they're suing him or whatever, they're
Yeah, everybody seems to.
yeah. It's not personal. He's trying to help his aunt, and I think Gregory Harrison respects that. He's just trying to be a good nephew.
And then we see the dad, at the fall
this
festival.
is maybe the worst part of the movie.
And he gets run over by a wheelbarrow.
It wasn't even run over. He got bumped. It
Yeah,
was really.
But it's dramatic.
What was the movie where the little kid got the scrape? We talked about it last year. It was like the
yeah.
Pear Farm one or whatever it was with Ryan Pavey in it, and it was like this terrible scene. This is very similar. It doesn't look like it hurts Gregory Harrison in any way, but
Well, word gets back to Claire in New York, and she rushes back to help her dad. And so then we have again, Patrick walking Maple, the dog, on the property of his aunt. And
Which, by the way, is what's keeping Erin Cahill away, because she hates the dog. Because she hates dogs.
she does not hate the dog.
She hates
I'm
dogs.
sorry I even brought that up.
And as long as he has the dog near him, it will keep her away.
Anywho, the dog finds they're walking and they go into the shed or this little mini barn, and the dog finds a document
Maple, the hero.
that illustrates that his aunt actually owns a portion of Claire's dad's land, and now hence lies the conflict.
Well, the conflict has always been there. It's honestly
But
throughout the whole
no,
film.
it
It's
was
changed
kind
back
of a
and
little
forth.
bit.
Nebulous.
It was kind of a little bit dissolved in a way.
Well, it was
when,
nebulous. You didn't really know who owned what, because what happened was Claire's dad, Hank, I think his name is, had their granddad, her granddad, had actually rented the land from someone, and then that person left, and it was just assumed that their family owned the land. In fact, they never did. Margie's family owns the land, so.
Well, yeah, but what happened is that Gregory Harrison's dad was paying Aunt Margie's family.
Yeah, but then he left, and it
he
was
died, and
yeah,
then,
but it was just assumed then. Nobody contested it, so it was assumed that Gregory Harrison and we'll call him Gregory Harrison, it's Hank, and his family, including Claire, owned the land. When in fact they didn't own the land. It was always
right.
Margie's land. So then, in the best line in the movie, the greatest line in the movie, you know, Claire's like, "What are we gonna do, Dad? What are we gonna do?" He goes, "Well, we'll have to go to court, and if we have to give up the land, we have to give up the land, because the right thing to do is the right thing to do."
That's what her mom, who has passed away, would say.
The right thing to do
No,
is the
there's
right
always
thing.
no. There's always the right thing to do.
No, the right thing to do is the right thing to do. And I wrote in my notes, and that's dumb.
No, the mom would say there's two things
No,
there's two things you can do.
I'm
The
not
right
arguing.
thing to do, and then the right thing to do. That's what it was.
Dumb.
But before that,
I know what they're saying.
Before that conversation,
Dumb.
when Patrick confronted Claire and said that he had found this tidbit
You got
of a
upset.
deed or whatever, she got very upset and basically said, "Why couldn't you just leave it alone?" Like, because
Yeah, but you knew that was just emotional.
and so after that conversation with her dad,
Do you remember
Patrick comes to the house and
Yeah.
he gives an envelope to Hank to give to Claire.
He does, but she also had a conversation before that with Betsy, with her friend, and Betsy was like, "He's just taking care of his aunt. You know, he still has feelings for you, and that doesn't mean he doesn't like you." And she's like, and Claire goes, Erin Cahill's character goes, "I know, he gets it." Like
Yeah.
they make these characters not be irrationally upset, which I think is a little unrealistic, because most people would be irrationally upset, because people like to be angry about everything, right? But if you're going to make a Hallmark film where positivity is kind of the name of the game, it's one of the things you said you liked about Erin Cahill, apart from the fact she doesn't like dogs. If you're going to make a positive film, a film that's positive, don't betray it. Make the characters say things like, "Yeah, I know, I get it. He's not trying to be hateful. I know he likes me, in fact," right? And she
Yeah.
does.
Well, so then we're in court, and she stands up, and they say that Hank is going to do the right thing and hands over the property, but only asks if he can finish the fall festival.
Right.
And with that,
Very teary-eyed scene. Like, it's sad. Like,
yeah,
it is.
and then with that, Patrick says, as he represents his aunt, that she will drop the lawsuit or the dispute of the property
Drop it, which means he gets the land back.
if they can split the fall festival 50-50 and a piece of the property. She can have a piece of it to grow her flowers.
Land disputes and things like that would, I mean, I grew up in the country. That's not it would never have been settled like that.
Yeah,
You would have
it's
fought
like
to the
we had
death.
all this build up, and then in literally
It
like
was
2 minutes of the movie, it's like squashed, like it
uh,
never even happened.
yeah, but it wasn't like normally I will make fun of these movies where if they just had a 2 minute conversation, but there was a reason they weren't having a 2 minute conversation. You know what I mean? And we skipped this part. No, we didn't skip it. It's coming up. Um, there were hurt feelings. You know, the take the land back. They weren't like best friends. I think because Margie, her husband had died, so she was just sad, and Hank was just trying to take care of his family. So they weren't. They just
They
weren't.
were not at odds with each other.
No, but they weren't like close
Right, right.
yet.
No, we don't know that.
Yet.
Don't be making another Hallmark fall movie that nobody has
Yeah.
intentions of carrying on.
Oh yeah.
So then we end this
It's time for the warm up.
movie with Claire taking Patrick to her favorite spot at where the festival is, and they're looking out over the farm, and he admits that he's had a crush on her since high school, and they kiss, and it was a real nice kiss. It wasn't one of those kisses, those cheesy kisses that
Yeah.
most of the time these movies, I ain't buying it, but I bought this one.
We talk about that with Hallmark films sometimes, whether or not the kiss looks, because a lot of these people are married to other people, and I get it that Hollywood stars and movie stars and people that are actors and actresses have to have these kissing scenes. But yeah, I agree with you. There's a way to make it look good without making it look ridiculous.
Yeah.
and it looks
And
sweet.
this movie also had little periods of music playing that I really enjoyed.
Not the plucky music.
No,
Because it had the little ping ping ping.
yeah, no. When they were kissing, there was like a little bit of some music, and I thought that was really nice. I'm gonna say that I really enjoyed this movie, not only because of the actors that played the characters, but their dialogue was flowing. There wasn't ever a scene where it looked like they were having to try really hard to get across what it was they were,
Natural, very natural.
right. The scenery was great.
Beautiful.
I mean, with the exception of the dog and being misplaced.
Film.
I mean,
Right.
it was fine. It was
filmed in Provo, Utah, I believe.
yeah, I did see that. So I challenge you all to take a peek at this. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Yeah, I agree. I liked it a lot. We didn't do our rating, and we did a rating last time. So if you had to rate it, what was it? 1
Okay,
out of
so
5?
1 through 5. I would give this a 4.
Yeah, I think I'd settle on the same thing. I don't think it's perfect, but I think it is the poster for what Hallmark is trying to do.
Yeah, and I look forward to any of her other movies this
I
season.
don't. He's got something coming up on the Great American Family. Is that what it's called? Great American Family, I think is what it's called. Because he went to Candace Cameron Bure, the Great American Family thing. But I didn't see. I looked to see what she's got coming up, and some stuff that's in post production. But I didn't see anything that was it's kind of a bummer.
Well, everybody will have to stay tuned and see if we bring this onto the podcast and read it for you.
This one's really fun.
Yep. And so I'm just gonna close with remember to take some time to do what makes you happy.
Yep.
We'll
Thank
see
you
again. Bye.